greater detail than ever before. Was the extensive work done by Hoagland and his Mars mission team sufficiently intriguing to convince NASA to re-photograph the face? Not by a long shot. The space agency, in fact, did something completely unprecedented. Since the first television cameras were sent on space missions in the mid-1960s, NASA has always shared its video images with the world. But just before the launch of the Mars Observer, NASA announced that for the first time, it would not allow any images to be broadcast on television. Why? Why would the National Space Agency suddenly change a policy that had stood for nearly 40 years? Could it be that there was more at work here than the fabled galactic ghoul? Has NASA violated one of its oldest and most rigid protocols? By the time Mars Observer reached orbit, the heated, sometimes bitter controversy over the face on Mars had been ongoing for 10 long years. If these discoveries truly were proof that there once was intelligent life on another world, it seemed only reasonable to try and get a closer look at Cydonia. Mars Observer would have done exactly that, but instead, the launch turned into a bizarre puzzle. On July 22nd, it was announced that the Mars Observer had disappeared 14 hours earlier. According to the official announcement, contact had been lost at 6 p.m. Pacific time the previous evening. For some inexplicable reason, NASA had postponed the announcement for 14 hours.
The timing of the announcement was odd enough, but things just got stranger and stranger. For the first time in NASA's history, its technicians had deliberately instructed the spacecraft to turn the telemetry off. So when the accident occurred, there was literally no downlink back to ground control, so the engineers could ever reconstruct what exactly occurred.
There are those who believe that whoever or whatever it is that doesn't want us to get a closer look at the red planet is not in outer space, but here on Earth.
The Mars Observer mission may have been doomed before it even left the ground. Hurricane Andrew hit the coast of Florida just about the time the Mars Observer was being prepared for launch. Even though it had been prepared for such an onslaught, technicians checked the probe to make sure that it had not been damaged by the storm. The nitrogen system was equipped with special filters to prevent such dust and debris from being taken into the system, and the cameras were in a separate compartment. In spite of this, bits of paper and dust and debris was found in both compartments. It looked as though someone had swept the floor and dumped the results into the compartments. It's unlikely that Hurricane Andrew would have been responsible for all of this.
But why would anyone want to sabotage a photographic mission to Mars? What is there about our neighboring planet that someone doesn't want us to see? Hoagland's team has developed several scenarios to answer that question.
One is that we had a previous high-tech civilization here on Earth, which went to Mars, built some stuff, and then collapsed. And only now are we rediscovering our heritage. A second hypothesis is that someone else, someone from far away, hundreds or even thousands of light years from the solar system, came to this system, came to Mars, built a civilization, and left an artifact in the form of a proto-human being, so that we would know, thousands of years down the line, that they, in fact, had touched us here on Earth. Someday we may discover that, in fact, we are the Martians.
Assuming for the moment that there could have been a flourishing race on Mars at some time in the distant past, why would they bother to build such huge monuments?
Cydonia was probably constructed to communicate something very fundamental. In fact, from the geometry we found, we believe it was designed to communicate a whole new physics, a grand unified field theory, as it were, given to us, communicated even by the Viking photographs, by the geometric layout of the structures.
Researchers now believe that the key to understanding the geometry of the D&M pyramid may be in the size, shape, and position of the massive structure. Hoagland and others point out that the pyramid is not oriented to the Martian North Pole, but is turned slightly to one side. Latitude lines show that two of the faces are out of alignment at exactly the same angle, 19.5 degrees.
Why 19.5? On every major or minor planet that NASA has flown by, photographed, or mapped in the last 30 years, there appears to be a major disturbance located just about 19.5 degrees north or south.
The Great Red Spot on the planet Jupiter is essentially a giant cyclone, an atmospheric storm larger than the entire planet Earth that continues to churn year after year at 19.5 degrees south. According to Hoagland, on every planet in our solar system, there does seem to be some kind of major geological or atmospheric disturbance at 19.5 degrees north or south, including our own gigantic volcano, Mauna Loa, raging up from the center of the Earth in the Hawaiian Islands at 19.5 degrees north. Does this suggest that the builders of the D&M period recorded in its structure a key to the inner nature of every planet in our system, including our own? Could it be there is a reason for leaving the number 19.5 encrypted in a pyramid?
This is a four-sided, four-cornered figure known for thousands of years as a tetrahedron. If you put this structure inside a sphere, such as a planet, it predicts by a 100-year-old mathematical theory some remarkable physical properties.
Hoagland claims that if you place a perfect tetrahedron or pyramid within a sphere, such as a planet, so that one tip is at the north or south pole, the other tips will fall at the latitude of 19.5 degrees, the same as the angles discovered in the D&M pyramid.
19.5 is a significant number in the Bible. It symbolizes faith. In biblical numerics, 19 is associated with the most faithful people and the greatest promises in the Bible. The 0.5 of this number represents grace and hope.
And that is precisely what Hoagland and his associates have continued to do. Hope. So far as anyone knows, the Mars Observer was never heard from again. Then, two more failures stunned NASA, as a Mars orbiter and the Mars polar lander both failed in 1999. But there was a probe that did make it into orbit, the Mars Global Surveyor.
We thought our hopes would finally bear fruit in 1998 with a NASA JPL agreement to finally re-image the face using this incredibly sophisticated camera flying on the Mars Global Surveyor spacecraft. Things truly seemed to be coming together. In 1996, NASA had announced the possible discovery of ancient life in a piece of rock that had come all the way from Mars. Finally, on the 5th of April 1998, after almost a quarter of a century of waiting, we got from Mars Global Surveyor what should have been an exquisite, much higher resolution image of the face on Mars. Unfortunately, after JPL got through enhancing what came to be known in some circles as the cat box image, there was nothing left to see, which was obviously their intent all along.
As you might suspect, NASA and JPL were not the only imaging experts to view the 1998 photographs.
The image that JPL released to the media in 1998 is not at all a faithful representation of even the raw data, let alone what is actually there. Image processing experts who have now treated the image properly have shown that it does indeed look very much like a hominid face. When we got the original image of the face in 1976, there was always the possibility that it was just a trick of light and shadow or something that was an accident of nature. When we got the high-resolution image, to our amazement, all of the secondary facial features were there too. Eyebrow, irises, nostrils, and lips with the correct size, shape, location, and orientation to be portrayals of a humanoid face. The odds against each of those things happening by accident range from 1 in 10 to 1 in 10,000. When you put them all together, the odds against all of them being accidents of nature are 100 billion to 1. Based on the results of the test, the object is artificial beyond a reasonable doubt.
The Mars Global Surveyor went into orbit in late 1997 and since has been sending back literally tens of thousands of exquisite pictures of all of Mars.